Hello, everybody, and welcome to Food Addiction, Fair and Firm. FAIR stands for Food Addiction is Real. FIRM stands for Freedom is Recovering Mindfully. All right, making sure we're on here. Excellent. Okay, welcome again. Thank you for joining me this week. This is a weekly educational and conversational discussion about, yes, food addiction. I'm Dr. Connie Stapleton, and I've worked professionally in the field of recovery from addictions for the past 25 years. I am very grateful to be in recovery myself from my own addictions for the past 28 years. This program, of course, is about food addiction and the process of recovery from food addiction. Each week, I'll share information about various topics related to food addiction. Before the end of each broadcast, I'll give you some suggestions to implement throughout the week to help you live free from food addiction. So let's get started. Last week, I talked about what food addiction is and how you can tell if you meet the criteria for food addiction. I posted a link on my webpage to the Yale Food Addiction Scale, and I'm going to post that right here in the comments so that you can go to my website. It's under resources, and you can look there on the Food Addiction Scale, just in case you want to go through the criteria again, or if you want to share that with someone else. You'll also be able to see at that same place on the resources on my webpage all the saved food addiction fair and firm videos that we'll be recording each week here Wednesday nights. So tonight I want to give you some additional information about food addiction, but we'll spend the majority of tonight's session giving you some specific tips so that you can get a jump start into the process of recovery. All right. First of all, there's something I'd like to mention. A food addict is a person who can be underweight, they can be a healthy weight, they can be overweight, or they can be obese. Food addiction is not always correlated with being overweight or obese. It's important that you remember that obesity, of course, is a disease. Interestingly, it was only in the last couple of years that the American Medical Association decided to go ahead and define obesity as a disease. It wasn't until the 50s and 60s that alcoholism was recognized as being a disease. I believe that food addiction will be classified as a disease by the American Medical Association in the not too distant future. So I want you to understand that food addiction is a disease, and it is a separate disease from obesity. Obesity is a disease that has a number of factors that influence it, as does addiction. So you can be obese and not be a food addict. You can be a food addict and not be obese, but you can also be both. The point that I'm trying to make is that anybody who suffers from food addiction has got to treat the food addiction as its own entity. So if you have addiction and obesity, if you have both diseases, both have to be treated. So especially for those of you who are considering weight loss surgery or who have had weight loss surgery and you feel like you meet the criteria for a food addict, understand that the surgery will not treat the food addiction. The surgery will help you lose weight. It gives you an opportunity to get that weight off, but it's not a guarantee to keep that weight off. And if you're a food addict and you're not in recovery from food addiction, no matter how you lose weight, no matter what diet you use, no matter what fad program or medically supervised program you use, until you treat that addiction, it's very unlikely that you'll keep that weight off. So I wanted to make sure that everybody understood that. All right, so without going through all the criteria from last week, in terms of what meets the criteria for addiction, I'd just like to say, all right, simplistically stated, is food and addiction. has food, your weight, food that caused your weight, caused problems in your life? Do you have comorbidities? Do you have, issues that the doctor said you've got to lose this weight? So you've had problems, you know you have a problem, and you know that your use of food and the excess weight is related to your physical problems, but it could also be psychological problems. So if you're not overweight or obese, maybe you're underweight or a healthy weight, but you know you have a food addiction. So it's an emotional problem. It's taken up too much of your time. You're not able to spend the amount of time or give all of yourself to your family, your coworkers, your friends. Regardless, if food is causing a problem in your life, whether it's a physical problem or a psychological problem, and you know it's the food and the related issues that are causing the problem, you want to stop, but you can't seem to get there, then you probably have a food addiction, all right? Regardless, if it's causing a problem, it's a problem. No matter what you call it, let's address the problem. All right. Again, welcome everybody. If you're just joining us, this is a program to educate you about food addiction and to help you learn how to treat it. All right. So here are the similarities between food addiction and other substance use disorders or other substance addictions. Not only substances, but other behavioral addictions as well. So substance addictions obviously would be alcohol, cocaine, crack, whatever street drugs there are. A behavioral addiction would be things like gambling, shopping, eating, internet pornography. It could be cleaning, it could be internet gaming, it could be social media. Anything that interferes with your life to the point that it's causing problems in relationships or in your health. So here are the things that food has in common with other addictions. There's compulsive use, all right? That means you do it in spite of knowing there are consequences that are negative. So compulsive use, I can't stop. There's cravings. You crave certain foods. You crave time on the computer. You have literal physical psychological cravings. Denial is often a huge problem. And that's one of the hardest things about working with addicts is getting through that denial, because until there's acceptance that there's a problem, it's darn hard to treat an addiction. Preoccupation. So preoccupation with food, if you wake up thinking about what you're going to have for lunch, or if you're preoccupied with food and you spend so much time on the internet looking at recipes or watching the Food Network, or spending so much time on the scale or looking up grams of protein, there's a preoccupation. I define preoccupation, well, I don't define it, but this is how I would visualize it. It's kind of like having blinders over your life. And all you can see are food and food related, weight and weight related, size and size related, number and scale related, ounces and grams related issues in life. But outside of that, there is so much life that you are missing out on. Recovery, being in recovery from addiction, allows you to enjoy the other aspects that are in life and not have to live in this crazy, closed-off world where you're obsessed, all right? There's increased use. Addiction's a chronic disease. It takes more and more over time. So a final aspect is guilt following excessive use or overeating. Oh, good. Yvonne, you're here. If Laura's here too, I'm going to ask you guys to please take over the comment board, because it's not working for me to read those and watch too. So thanks, guys. All right. So those are the similarities between overeating and other substance and behavioral addictions. And I just wanted to kind of go over those so that we reviewed the criteria. Okay. Last week, I invited you all to work on your stinking thinking, which includes your attitude, the way you talk to yourself, about yourself, the ways that you beat up on yourself, criticize yourself, etc., etc. I thought that maybe we could do a little exercise. All right? You don't have to have any paper, and we're not going to sweat. This is not that kind of exercise. This is I want you to think about some things and answer my questions exercise. All right. I want you to think about 2 or 3 or 4, it doesn't matter, it's not that particular, instances of times in your life when somebody has said or done something that really hurt your feelings. So they've said something critical to you that really stung, or they have done something to really, really hurt your feelings. So I'm going to give you just a minute, and I'll write that down here. Think of a few things or times in your life when others have said or done something that really hurt you. Now that may be in relation to food or weight, or it doesn't have to be. All right? So everybody kind of got a few things in your mind? Now, the next thing I want you to do, this might be a little more, I want you to think of 2 or 3 or 4 things that you have done or said, that you have done or said to yourself that have really hurt you. Things you have said or done to yourself that have caused yourself pain or hurt. Things you have said or done that have caused you pain or hurt. Okay, so hopefully, the second one was easier. You know what? I'm wondering if it was easier because of the question I'm going to ask you next. All right? In each case, when did these things occur? The things you thought of that other people have said or done that have really hurt you, were those recent things or were those things in the past? Type in past or present. I just kind of be curious to know if those things that other people did that came to your mind first were things that happened in the past or present. I hear you, Bunny. Some of those things are behind that door. I understand what you're saying. Okay, past or present, combination, okay? Now, the things that you have said or done that hurt you or cause you pain, were those recent or in the past? Some past, some present. Okay. What I'm guessing, based on my work with people in this population, people who struggle with addiction, whether it's to food or other things, is that a lot of our negative self-talk is very present with us today. Today, yesterday, the day before, very, very recent. I hear a lot of recent. Some people are saying in the past, mainly in the past, which means, hopefully means that you have worked on this as an issue and have worked on changing some of the way you talk to yourself. I hope that some of you have begun to be aware of the ways that you're talking to yourself negatively in the present. Because we can compare what other people say or do that hurt you, whether it's past or present, to what you say or do that hurts you, especially in the present. We, all of us, have absolutely no influence or control over what others think about us, what they might say to us, how they feel about us. We don't have much influence over that. On the other hand, we have tremendous influence over how we can choose to talk to ourselves. And I said last week that if I could give you one gift, the starting gift would be for you to change the way you talk about yourself to yourself. Change it from critical, harsh, ugly, mean, to compassionate, kind, patient. Because this is a process. It's not going to it's not going to be a week and we're going to be over this addiction thing, all right? I want you to try. Here's some specific tips, all right? And I will post these online all through the week. But here are some things that you can do to help yourself become aware of when you're talking negatively to yourself by developing some mantras, all right? So every morning when you get up, post these on your phone or make them your screensaver or post them in your mirror, put a sticky on your rear view mirror, whatever the case may be. A few little mantras that might help you. Feel free to make up your own, but here are a couple good starters. One is, I can only influence how I talk to myself. I can only influence how I talk to myself. In other words, if you are really focused on how other people are hurting you, it's a waste of your time. Not that it doesn't matter, and it does matter, and you do need to process that with your friends. But what's vastly more important is recognizing and changing the way you think about yourself and talk to yourself. And you do have a lot of influence over that. I can influence, I'm typing this in here, the way I speak to myself. Not only that, not only can you, but maybe you have a little bit of responsibility to do that. Maybe you have some responsibility. My health is my responsibility this day, every day. Remember? So maybe you have a responsibility if you say you want to be in recovery, if you say you want to improve your relationship with yourself, if you want to get out of that horrible place of beating on yourself, then you need to accept the responsibility that only you can do it and that you can influence it. It's going to take time. It's only going to be one thing at one time at a time. Here's another mantra. I am learning and living healthier ways. Guess what? You don't have to believe these mantras. You just have to say them. And the reason you got to say them is because your brain hears you talk. You hear your thoughts. And guess what? We move, listen to this carefully, all right? We move in the direction of our most dominant thoughts. We move in the direction of our most dominant thoughts. So if I'm saying, I can only influence the way I talk to me. I am responsible for the way I talk to me. I am learning to live in healthier ways. I am moving then in healthier ways. I am accepting responsibility for my health. I am recognizing that I can influence the way I talk to myself. So it's uber important that whether or not you believe the things you are saying, that you say them. Okay, I posted something a while back about this very concept, about changing the way you think. And I can't remember who commented on the post, but it was beautiful and eloquent. And basically what they said was, Connie, I learned this skill of changing my self-talk many years ago. And when I first started, I had trouble believing it was going to make a difference. And I would maybe make one positive thought for every 4 negative ones I made. But I would correct myself and I would redo it. And I did that time after time after time after time. This day after this day after this day after this day. And that was many years ago. She said, now, what was so second nature to me back then is so foreign to me now. Now it's very foreign to me if I hear myself say something negative about myself. So don't take my word for it. Trust others who have done it. It's a journey, it's a path, but you got to start somewhere. So please start with this stinking thinking. So that's one specific tool, mantras. Make up your own. Make it positive. Make it, put the responsibility on yourself. Now it's true that other people hurt us a lot, right? And I'm going to spend lots of time talking about what we do with those things, but not tonight. Because tonight, we're focusing on getting you started, immersed on the path to living differently, living more healthily. And let me tell you why I use the word recovery from obesity. A lot of people, myself included, associate the word recovery with 12-step programs because they use the word recovery, recovering in 12-step programs. If you're not a fan of 12-step programs, that's okay. Think about it this way. Addiction is a disease. People are in recovery from diseases all the time, right? There are many, many, many chronic diseases. Many don't go away, but people are in remission. So you can be in recovery, you can be recovering from, be in remission from your addiction. So when I use the word recovery, if the 12-step thing turns you off, associate it more with being in recovery from a disease, all right? Either way, I love the word recovery, all right? Recovering. We're constantly in the process of recovering from this disease of addiction that we all share. All right, so that being said, onward and forward, right? Things that have happened to us in the past are important in that they have kind of taught us how to treat ourselves. If we were treated poorly for a long time in our lives, whether it was from schoolmates, parents, siblings, aunts, uncles, coaches, teachers, whatever. If we were treated poorly, we've kind of been, you know, we've learned to treat ourselves poorly. That's important. Things in the past we are going to deal with. I'm an insight junkie. I like understanding where my reactions today come from. A lot of them do come from the past, but I can't live in the past. I can't change the past, can't influence the past. I can understand that the past has influenced my present, but I can only change my present, all right? So we will honor and acknowledge and deal with the past so that we don't have to continue to fight it. However, today we're going to focus on the present, realizing that no matter what's happened to me in the past that was painful, anything I do today in the present, anything I do in the present today to cause myself pain is of my own doing. Now, other people may do things today that I feel pain about. I have very little influence over that, other than saying, when you do that, I feel hurt. I would like if you wouldn't do that. The thing you have the most influence on, and the place we've got to start, is working on the things that you have influence on. So we're going to work on the present for right now in terms of changing how you treat yourself. Because anytime we add pain to our past misery, we're keeping ourselves in misery. Is that what you want? I don't think consciously it's what you want. And we can change things without having a bunch of insight. I believe we can change things better if we have insight, but we'll get to that later. But for today, I just want you to start changing the stinking thinking. Now, the other thing that I want to give you today is this. This is a wonderful tool. My friend Diane uses this tool all the time, and I think you're watching, Diane. And you remind me of this tool all the time. So I've taken this stop to a little bit more expanded version, all right? When you feel the urge to go get some food that is a trigger food for you, that's going to, you know, start you on a binge or put you back on the path deeper into your addiction, all right? I want you to say stop, but I want you to understand how we're going to use the word stop. The S is going to stand for slow down, because when we're in that frantic state of mind, when we're just like, I gotta have food, I gotta have chocolate, I gotta have whatever it is, or remember, addiction takes us hostage, right? It hijacks our brain so that we're not thinking clearly. and we get all this adrenaline going, and we get all this cortisol flooding our brains, and we're not thinking clearly. So the first thing you do is slow down. If that means you have to sit down on the floor wherever you're at so you don't move, then you do it. I don't care if you're in the middle of the grocery store, if you're at work, if you're just stop. Pull over to the side of the road, whatever you've got to do. This is your life we're talking about here, okay? This is your life. So you do what you've got to do. You've got to slow down, because it's not until you slow down and breathe that you're going to be able to think clearly enough to make a healthier decision. So when you say stop, all right, when you're feeling frantic, when you're going for the food, when you're feeling obsessed, when your world is so focused on food and whatever, stop, all right? Say it out loud, shout it, I don't care, but stop where you're at and then slow it down, because you got to breathe until you can think a little more clearly. So the first part of stop is S, which means slow down. T is for talk it out. Now this could be real interesting, right? You might not have everybody around to talk it out with. I don't care, talk it out yourself. Sit there on the grocery store floor and say, not today. Not today, ice cream, not today. Because that's not going to move me in the direction I want to go, which is health and recovery. I am responsible for what I do today. I accept responsibility for what I do today. Talk it out. Call a friend. Say, I got to process this. I'm losing my mind. All I can think about is whatever food. I don't want to go there because I'm trying real hard to stay in recovery from my food addiction. I got to talk this out. Another way of talking it out is to journal. You know, if you're at work and you're just like, you're feeling that obsession come in, just open up a Word document, type it all out, talk to the food, talk to the computer like it's your best friend, help me, what do I do? The computer will answer in the form of your fingertips, because you already know the answers, Dorothy. Do you get that, Wizard of Oz? Anyway, okay, so talk it out. So you're going to slow down, breathe, talk it out before you react. Stop, slow down, talk it out. O is for options. What are my options? Well, I can give in, and I know how I'm going to feel if I do that. I can use a lifeline, call a friend, go to the grocery store, stock person over there and say, would you mind walking me to my car? I'm feeling a little faint. Whatever you have to do, consider your options. Consider them in terms of, if I do this, how will I feel? If I do this, am I moving closer to where I want to be? If I do this, am I accepting responsibility for my addiction? If I do this, am I acting in according to my recovery? So what are my options? I can sit here and cry. I can sit here and scream. I can eat the food. I can distract myself. Speaking of which, I've talked about this a lot of times. Dang, look at the time. Oh. A tip jar. Have a tip jar. And in a tip jar, you put 100 different things that have nothing to do with anything. They can be go outside, pick up 3 leaves. Or they can be write a thank you note to somebody I owe a thank you to. Or write down 5 things I need to get done today. Anything. And you just pick things out of that jar until that craving is gone, until that compulsion. So slow down, talk it out, whether that's to yourself or somebody else, or writing it out. Get some of your logic, because your emotions are real high. Put some logic in the mix, all right, so you can reason. Consider your options. And then the P is use your plan. Use your plan. What plan? The plan that we're going to make so that you have options. So, for example, I'm going to give you some to start your plan with, all right? When you get crazed and really want to give in to a trigger food, all right? First thing is stop, write it all out, all right? And on your plan, so you write out stop, slow down, talk it out. What are my options? use my plan. On your plan, you say, call a friend, distract myself, write myself a letter, soothe myself, remind myself of the good things I've done today, remind myself of where I want to go, remind myself that I'm responsible, go for a walk around the block, sit down and have a good cry. Just make a plan, the things that help bring you back to center, to focus, to a place where you can make a healthy choice. All right? All right, last thing I'm going to say tonight, goodness, okay, is recovery is serious business. The only way to recover from food addiction is to eliminate the trigger foods. Some people may have a trigger food. Some people may have 5 trigger foods. Some people may have categories of trigger foods. The only way to be serious about and into your recovery is to eliminate the trigger foods, because you can't really even think clearly when you're active in an addiction. So consider that. You know, however you want to go about that is your business. But I will tell you one thing, and I've picked up on this when kind of talking to people in the group, which I haven't done a lot of because I'm so time limited, but I'm going to continue to make a big effort to respond to everybody because I love what I'm hearing in there. It's very reassuring and refreshing, and people are so honest and giving really good suggestions. Immerse yourself in your recovery. You've got to immerse yourself. But the thing I was going to say is make sure you don't have any of those trigger foods in your house. Somebody said last night, oh, this was good timing. I was just reaching for my trigger food. What's it doing in your house? Get it out. Why set yourself up for that? Okay, enough of that. All right. Immersion in recovery. When I went to treatment, here's what they told me. Don't use. No drugs, no alcohol. Those were my issues. Pain medication and alcohol. Don't use. No mood-altering substances for me. No mood-altering behaviors for me. All right? So don't use. All right, so that was the first thing. The second thing was go to meetings. Now, you may not like 12-step meetings, and that's fine by me. Go to a meeting can mean get on a support group online or join the food addiction fair and firm group. Get connected every single day. Be connected or join in a 12-step meeting. Whatever feels most comfortable for you, all right? So don't use, go to meetings, read the big book. The big book is the book of Alcoholics Anonymous. So it doesn't have to be the big book. Read something related to your recovery, whether it's healthy self-talk or anything related to recovery. That book that I quote from a lot is called Each Day a New Beginning. It's by Hazelden. I'll type that in. Hazelden. I have an app on my phone. It cost me $5. Great, $5. Well worth the money. Every day, read out of that. They are amazing little books, daily books. Listen to a TED Talk. Listen to a podcast. Immerse yourself in healthy living. It takes a concerted effort. It's like you're in a summer class in a PhD program, and it's all the time. You got to be focused on it, all right? So those are the things I'm going to suggest that you do each and every day. A very important tool for you, if you use this form, it's got a great, wonderful name called the Daily Form. Very, deep and well thought out Daily Form. It's on my website. That form is based on the 10th step of any 12-step program, which is take a daily inventory. So this will help you say something I did that I'm proud of myself today, because I want you to really give yourself credit for the work that you're doing. There's also a question that says something I could do better. If I can do anything to correct it, something I did today that I'm not proud of, then what is it? Could I make an amends? Could I clean out my cupboards? What is it? And then it's going to give you the gotta do-ems, things that are required to, keep that weight off. Get the weight off. Keep the weight off. And remember, getting the weight off is never the goal, my friends. Keeping the weight off. Living at a healthy weight for your body, whatever that is the goal. It also gives you things to set goals for tomorrow. Just little goals in different areas of your life so that you kind of have a plan for tomorrow. And if you get lost in your thinking and feel like you're getting off track, just grab that and say, well, I could do this. That could be your go-to for today. So use that form. It's just a really great way to kind of stay on track and plan for tomorrow. All right, my friends. Woo! This video will be posted on my Facebook page, obviously. I'm also posting them all on my YouTube page, which all you have to do is search my name, Connie Stapleton. And of course, there is a spot on my webpage. I put the link up there earlier. It's under the resources page. And all the videos will be on there. So if you have friends that have missed them, if you want to share them later with people, if you want to share them with your support groups or your recovery groups, this is my 12-step work. This is my way of sharing with other people what I have learned in my recovery. Because what I've learned in my recovery is how to live life gratefully and fully. So much different than when I was active in my addiction. But it's effort every single day. Every single day of my life requires effort for my recovery. And without my recovery, I know things are not going to be good for me or a lot of people I love. So remember, my health, my responsibility, this day, every day. Remember, I'm your recovery conscience. Listen for my voice in your head and treat yourself well. I will see you all next week. I thank you so much for being here and investing your time in yourself because you're worth it. Good night.